Getting a little dizzy. What the? What? Huh? What? Where the hell am I?
Good morning.
Who said that? What? Who? Where are you? Where am I? What the hell do you want?
Relax. I'm just here to have fun. Let's play a game.
Oh no! I know how this works. You say, let's play a game and make it sound all cute and innocent. Next thing you know, I'm sawing my fingers off or shoving sticks down someone's throat or you're chaining me to a wall and forcing me to eat.
Whoa! Calm down there, friend. Look, I'm not here to hurt you.
It's a little late for that.
Well, I've been watching you for a while.
Ugh, why do weird voices keep spying on me?
And I thought I should put you to the test. You say you're good at games, right?
I don't recall saying that.
Well, you've got this whole conquering thing down, so I want to see if you really can conquer anything.
You know, there's a better way to do that than kidnapping me and locking me in a room.
I don't know, this seems pretty effective to me. If you look down there, you'll see a PS4.
Hey, that's mine! How do you get that?
I borrowed it. Now, there's a game pre-installed. All you have to do is conquer it, and you'll be free.
And if I refuse? Ow!
That.
Okay, fine. What's the game?
There's a hint on the wall.
SMB. What does that mean?
Turn on the console and find out.
Okay. I don't know. Looks pretty normal to me. No, please, no, not that!
What's wrong?
You can't expect me to conquer this!
Why not?
Have you played this game before? It's freaking impossible!
Come on, it's nothing you can't handle.
Look, man, I've beaten some hard games in my time. Mario the Lost Levels, Mega Man 1 through 4, Metroid, Cuphead, Super Monkey Ball, Zelda 2, but this is on a whole nother level. Ow!
Well, either you conquer the game, or you don't leave.
Fine, I guess it's worth a shot.
Wait, aren't you forgetting something?
Right, gotta talk about the development.
No, before that.
Oh, hello human beings.
That's better.
Super Meat Boy, a prime example of why people love masochism. One of the most popular indie games of all time, and one of the most infamous. Super Meat Boy is beloved and feared by millions of people across the world. I know you wouldn't expect that from a game with this title, but there is much more to it than meets the eye. The game originated as a Flash game simply titled Meat Boy.
You see, kids, a Flash game is a game that you played on your computer browser, likely using the Adobe Flash Player program. May it rest in peace.
It was created by Edmund McMillan and Jonathan McEntee, and uploaded to Newgrounds in 2008. It was a simple 2D platformer where you had to guide a cube of meat to his girlfriend who was at the end of each stage. The game was a huge hit, and it led to McMillan being noticed by Nintendo and Microsoft, who hoped he would make a more expanded version of the game for their digital stores. Don't ask about what happened to Mr. McEntee, I guess he just went to get some milk. McMillan would then team up with fellow developer Tommy Rafenes to create an independent development team known as Team Meat. They designed the game to be an homage to platformers of the 80s, such as Super Mario Bros., Mega Man, and Ghosts and Goblins. And they wanted it to be challenging, but also rewarding, so they did what they could to make the game not feel unfair. Development began in January of 2009, and it went fairly smoothly until August 2010, when the developers were contacted by Microsoft and told that the game should be finished in time for their big promotion event that fall. Because of this, they had to essentially work themselves into the ground. They worked for days on end, barely slept, and even forgot to eat at many points. Edmund McMillan would later state that this was a miserable process that he would never repeat. The This story would be further explained in the 2012 documentary Indie Game the Movie, but they managed to get it done, as Super Meat Boy was released on October 20th, 2010 for the Xbox 360, with a PC version coming a month later and a Mac version the following year. But due to contractual reasons, the game was never released on PS3, and there was going to be a Wii version released, but that ended up getting cancelled due to the game's file size being too big. The game received universal acclaim, with people regarding it as one of the greatest indie games ever made, and it managed to sell over 1 million copies by 2012. And Meat Boy would become a poster child for future indie games like Cuphead and Shovel Knight, and the game would later be ported to the PS4, the PS Vita, the Wii U, and the Nintendo Switch. Plus, it was followed up by a sequel titled Super Meat Boy Forever, which was released in 2020, and nobody talked about it.
I actually have played this game before, and I liked it, but it was absolutely brutal. I somehow managed to beat it, but there was a lot of extra stuff I did not feel the need to do because I am not a masochist. But I have a feeling I'm going to be needing to do that here. I just hope my past experience will give me some preparation for this. Ow.
Quit stalling and start the frickin' game.
I am. Ugh, first the aliens, then the void, now this. Why does this keep happening to me? Whatever. Let's get on with it, I guess. This is Super Meat Boy.
Since this game is a tribute to 80s platformers, the plot is as basic as it gets. It follows Meat Boy, a giant sentient cube of uncooked meat, and his girlfriend Bandage Girl, a giant sentient cube of bandages. They love each other very much, but that love is not directed towards Dr. Fetus, a fetus in a jar with a suit that nobody loves, so he hates everyone, including you.
Oh, how rude! I mean, who would make a gesture like that? You! Well, that was uncalled for. Ow!
Dr. Fetus's hatred also applies to our happy couple here, so he decided if he can't be loved, no one can. He kidnaps Bandage Girl and runs off with her, so Meat Boy must save her. Like I said, super basic. It's your typical damsel in distress story, but thankfully the game has fun with it. There's a handful of cutscenes sprinkled throughout, and they are all very amusing. There's no dialogue, but the visual humor is absolutely fantastic. The game knows you're not really here for the story, and it's able to provide a decent amount of laughs. I really like that. This game has a very distinct visual style. While most retro-style platformers go for an 8 or 16-bit approach, this game looks a lot more cartoonish, especially with the cutscenes. It doesn't go as far as something like Cuphead, but it's still pretty distinct, and I think it looks great. And it has a killer soundtrack. The songs all have so much energy to them, and it fits super well with this type of gameplay. As stated, this is a 2D platformer. Much like the Flash game this was based on, you guide Meat Boy through the stages to reach Bandage Girl at the end. And this is another example of the game having a great sense of humor, since every time you reach her, Dr. Fetus appears and snatches her away. Meat Boy is completely defenseless. All he can do is run and jump. In addition to on the floor, he can perform a wall jump, which works great for reaching higher platforms and slipping past certain obstacles, since your momentum carries over when you cling to the wall.
It may sound very simple, but there is a reason I have been fearing for my safety. This game is an absolute gauntlet.
Do not let that smile fool you. This is one of the hardest video games ever made. It may look all cutesy and happy, but if you decide to pick up this game, be prepared to die, ow, and die, ow, and die, ow. Levels are filled to the brim with every type of obstacle you can possibly imagine. Take a minute to think of almost every hazard you've ever seen in a video game. Chances are it shows up in Super Meat Boy. This game throws literally everything but the kitchen sink at you, and for all I know, that could show up too at some point. You'll have to avoid buzzsaws, spikes, bottomless pits, buzzsaws, lava, lasers, buzzsaws, missiles, salt, buzzsaws, demons, giant fans, blobs, buzzsaws, crushing platforms, buzzsaws, giant mouth monsters that split into tiny mouths, buzzsaws, clones that somehow kill you on impact, and is there something else I'm forgetting? Oh yeah, buzzsaws! I swear the designers of this game have a buzzsaw fetish. They're freaking everywhere! If you play this game, I can guarantee you will see them in your nightmares for the next 14 years. It doesn't help that Meat Boy is somehow more fragile than both Crash and Bubsy. Every single one of these obstacles kills you instantly, and since you're completely defenseless, your dodging skills will be put to the ultimate test. If you even slightly skim across one of these things, you're sent back to the start of the stage. Even going off screen kills you. And I don't just mean falling down. If you go too far to the side or up, you automatically die, because why the hell not? I mean it when I say this game is a marathon of obstacles. From the minute you leave that title screen, you are not safe until you see the end of the stage.
But if this game is harder than a frozen chestnut encased in steel, why is it beloved by so many people, and why am I not screaming my head off right now? Well, that's because it does one thing that sets it apart from the 80s platformers it's paying homage to and makes it superior to almost all of them. You don't have lives.
Yes, you heard me correctly. You do not have lives. And no lives means no game overs. And no game overs means no redoing stuff you've already done 8 to 70 times. This is incredible. incredible. I've said it before, and I'll say it again. Extra lives are stupid. They were an artificial difficulty made so that you would spend more money in the arcade or get more time out of an NES game that would otherwise take 30 minutes to beat. They don't make the game harder, they just make it longer. With Super Meat Boy, you can die as many times as you want. You only have to worry about beating the level you're on instead of having to worry about whether or not you died too many times on the previous levels. This is helped by the fact that the levels in this game are really short. There's no checkpoints in these levels, but that doesn't really matter since beating a level only takes about 10 to 30 seconds. So when you die, that's a when, not if, you don't lose as much progress, and it doesn't take long to get back to where you were. And despite this game having more obstacles than grains of sand on a beach, it feels fair most of the way through. There are a couple of cheat moments, but for the most part when I die, it feels like it's my fault and not the result of some stupid obstacle I couldn't see. And part of that is because this game has insanely tight controls. Meat Boy moves pretty fast by default, and he moves even faster by holding the run button. His jump is incredibly floaty, which might sound like a bad thing, but the game was designed around that, so it lets you do some pretty cool maneuvers. Your fall speed is controlled by your movement speed, so running is great for slipping through stuff, whether you're moving horizontally or vertically. Meat Boy even leaves a trail of blood wherever he goes. This might seem like a small detail, but it's really helpful in determining where you've been and can be a good reminder of where you should or shouldn't go.
This is what I want to see. I don't mind if a game is hard as long as it still feels fair, and thankfully, Super Meat Boy is a game that rewards you for playing good instead of punishing you for playing bad. That's how you do it.
That's strange. He seems rather calm. No matter, this game will break him soon.
The game is split into 5 main chapters that each contain 20 levels. Because the levels are so short, you should get through a chapter fairly quickly, at least until you get held up on one level, but we don't need to worry about that. Every time you beat a level, you're shown a replay of all your attempts playing it once, so you get to see just how many times you actually died. This feels like mockery, but it is pretty funny. And if you want to measure your junk, you can save a replay so you can watch it anytime you want. Hidden throughout many of the levels are bandages you can grab, but to fully collect it, you need to get it and then beat the stage. If you grab it and die, it doesn't count. By collecting bandages, you can unlock additional characters to play as, and all of them come from other indie games, so Super Meat Boy is essentially one gigantic crossover. You have to collect a lot of bandages in order to unlock most of the characters though, so you likely won't see them on your initial playthrough. And the characters you can unlock vary depending on whether or not you're playing the game on console or PC. I'm playing the console version, so we have Gish, I've never heard of that game, who moves slowly but can stick to walls, Alien Hominid, who can shoot to jump higher although he can't run, Tim from Braid, who can rewind time, Spelunky, who can double jump, Pink Knight from Castle Crashers, who can flutter, and the Ninja from N, who's the fastest character in the game. The PC version has Headcrab from Half-Life, Joseph from Machinarium, Alien Hominid again, Nija from Aquaria, Runman, Captain Viridian from VVV, they held that key too long, and Steve from Minecraft. Fun fact, this game is the reason he got that name. The other characters add a lot of variety and can make levels easier, but sometimes you just really need Meat Boy, since he moves a lot faster than most of them.
Ow! Why does this thing keep shocking me? I am playing the game!
Oh, I forgot to mention, you get zapped for disobedience and failure, so every time you die, you get a shock.
Are you kidding me? You know what, that's it. I'm getting this thing off.
I wouldn't do that if I were you. Break the seal, and it'll detonate.
Okay, back to the game.
Good.
The amount of levels may seem short, but believe me, we have only scratched the surface of what this game has to offer.
If you beat a level fast enough, you'll receive an A+ grade. Getting an A+ lets you access another version of that level known as the Dark World. You see, the main levels in this game are all a part of the Light World. The Dark World is essentially a remixed version of the levels made to be even harder. Yes, they thought these levels weren't challenging enough, so they made even more difficult versions of them. More enemies to avoid, more obstacles to deal with, more buzzsaws because you can never have too many. Some levels are in the dark so you can't see everything and have a worse understanding of what you can and can't touch. Some levels are mirrored, making them harder to comprehend, and some are just absolutely crazy with the amount of stuff you have to deal with. These levels are where the real challenge of Super Meat Boy comes into play. If you thought the main campaign was hard, you ain't seen nothing until you go for the extra stuff.
Thankfully, the Dark World levels aren't mandatory to beat the game, so you can blissfully ignore them.
That's what you think.
The Dark World levels aren't the only extra stages. You can find these portals in certain stages, but they disappear after a short amount of time. If you can reach it before it vanishes, it takes you to the Warp Zone. Warp Zone! The Warp Zones contain 3 mini-levels that you have to beat. Most of them have extra bandages in them, but you only have 3 lives, and thankfully your life count resets with each level. These can be super tricky, but they're optional, so I can slightly forgive them. Well, at least for the life count. And the aesthetic always matches some old-school system, like the NES, SNES, arcades, Game Boy, etc. The second type contains more unlockable characters. There's 5 total, 1 in each chapter, and unlike the bandage characters, they don't vary between versions. Because these levels are designed with the new character special abilities, they are some of the hardest levels in the game. Thankfully, unlike the bandage Warp Zones, you have unlimited unlimited lives, which is great because if you only had 3 chances, I would be writing my obituary. The first one is Commander Video from Bit Trip Runner, who's really slow, but he can hover in the air for a few seconds. He has by far the easiest warp zone, but that makes sense since he's the first. Second is Jill from Mighty Jill Off, who can stop herself in the air for a second by hitting the jump button. Her levels are a lot harder, especially the second one. This took a decent amount of tries. Third is Ogmo from Jumper. He has a double jump, which is useful, but he's really heavy, so even with that, there are some jumps he just can't make. His levels are about on par with Jill's. Fourth is Fly Wrench, another game I've never heard of. He has a triple jump, but he's the heaviest character in the game, and your extra jumps are nowhere near as good as the first one. His levels stink. And the last one is... wait, I feel like I know this from somewhere. Grass, spikes, apples. Oh, no. No, please, tell me it's not. No, 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 not him!
No!
It's the kid from I Wanna Be the Guy. For those of you innocent souls, I Wanna Be the Guy is deliberately designed to be one of the most cheap, unfair, agonizingly difficult games ever made. I've never touched the game myself, and from what I've seen, I'm not going anywhere near it. And these Warp Zone levels are a perfect example of why. They're meant to serve as an homage, and Jesus Christ, this is one of the worst things I have ever seen. The kid also has a double jump, and it is vastly better than Ogmo's. So he's arguably the best character in the game, and the level designers must have known this, because they went out of their way to make sure the process of unlocking him doesn't have a single morsel of fun in it at all. Look at this. Just look at this! Does this look fun to you? There are more spikes in here than the entire rest of the game! I swear the timing on these ones is literally pixel perfect! If you are even one fraction of a nanosecond off, you're f***ing dead. It doesn't even matter how many zeros are past that decimal point, if there is a single point where it stops, you're done. Who actually designed these levels because they have a sick sense of humor? This is fucking impossible! I'm not joking. These levels took me 3.5 hours to beat. 3 fucking hours! 40 minutes on stage 1, an hour on stage 3, and nearly 2 hours on just stage 2. 2 fucking hours of staring at this one screen! Come on, come on. Come on, I am so close. Oh my god. Oh my god, can I please? Oh my god, yes!
Oh my god, that was painful. And not even because of this. My hands are killing me. I can't take this anymore.
Come on, you've gotten through the worst of it. Finish what you started.
You know what? Fine. I'm almost done anyway.
There's even these glitch levels that can appear at random. They're basically the same thing as the bandage warp zones, but they look a lot more weird and corrupted. Every chapter ends with a boss fight, but you only need to beat 17 of the 20 levels to unlock it. I have a feeling I'll get zapped though, so I'll beat all of them anyway.
Dang it, he's catching on.
The boss fights are easily the worst part of the game. Because you can't actually fight back, they're either just auto-scrollers or dodging games, and they feel extra punishing since they take a lot longer to go through than your normal levels. Now let's get more specific. Chapter 1 is the forest. We get a scene of Bandage Girl getting sucker punched, and all the levels are grassy. They may start out basic, but don't let your guard down, they ramp up fairly quickly. For the boss, Dr. Fetus sets the place on fire and attacks with this giant chainsaw robot known as Lil Slugger. You just need to run away from it, pretty simple. Eventually it explodes, but Dr. Fetus gets away. Chapter 2, the hospital. This is where Dr. Fetus makes a bunch of weird experiments. It opens with a Castlevania homage, and the levels are really dark and purple. Not the worst, but still pretty hard. Meatboy gets to the end, and Dr. Fetus creates a giant blood monster known as Chad, the completely horrendous apple dump. You need to grab keys and climb upward while the room fills with blood, and Chad jumps out at you. Expose him to sunlight, and he shrivels up. Dr. Fetus escapes again, and Meatboy puts the little dump out of its misery.
I would have done the same.
Chapter 3, the Salt Factory. Meatboy storms Dr. Fetus's, you know what, I'm not really sure, which is a problem because he might as well be a snail. This place is saltier than french fries who just lost a football game. It's everywhere. You find Bandage Girl tied up, but Fetus flushes the pipes to create Brownie, a clone of Meatboy made of actual crap. Move aside, Conker's Bad Fur Day, there's a new fecal boss fight in town. But Fetus then floods the room with salt, seems kinda counterproductive. Brownie's not really a boss, you just have to run alongside him while the place starts to fill up with salt. It's basically a fusion of the last two bosses. Meatboy tries to save his new fecal friend, but Dr. Fetus knocks him down. Why did you make him in the first place? He also knocks Meatboy off off the roof, sending him to Chapter 4, Hell. You know your game is rough when Hell is the halfway point. We get this Ninja Gaiden homage, and the levels are mostly just fire and lava with the occasional demon. And buzzsaws, but that goes without saying. This is where the levels really start to get hard. Meatboy discovers that every time he dies, a corpse of his goes here, and all his carcasses fuse together to create Little Horn. Instead of running through an obstacle course, you have to avoid his attacks. He slams down his fists, drags them, causes rubble to fall, and tries to headbutt you. The headbutt hurts him though, and he dies after he does it 3 times. This fight is just trial and error. Memorize the pattern and you've got it. Meatboy sees a rocket leaving and winds up committing domestic violence. The fetus blows up the rocket, and now we're on Chapter 5, The Rapture. In a Mega Man 2 homage, Meatboy is resurrected, only to fall off the roof again. Everything has become run down, and these levels are absolutely brutal. They throw pretty much everything the game has at you, so be ready. Meatboy is lured into a trap where he has to fight these 3 giant worms known as Larry's Lament. They dig, slither, and jump around. You need to lure them to the side so they jump into the buzzsaws. This is the closest thing we have to a real boss fight. Fetus tries to escape on a floating chunk of rock, but Meatboy chases after him.
Here it is, the last world of the game, and oh my god, it is nuts.
Chapter 6, The End, is only 5 levels, but they are some of the hardest levels in the game. It really should be called Buzzsaw Central because that's the only obstacle you face here. These people have a problem. Ow. Ow. Ow! In this chapter, you can only play as Meatboy. The other characters are not selectable. If you actually make it through this gauntlet, you confront Dr. Fetus. This fight sucks. It's not even really a fight. You have to run through this corridor full of take a guess while he shoots a bazooka at you. That's it. This one jump here is ridiculous. You have to time it just right. Dr. Fetus barely does anything, so he's more so just an annoyance. At the end, you have to hit these buttons to destroy the platform, which causes Fetus to plummet and break his suit. Meatboy and Bandage Girl reunite, but the failed abortion isn't done yet. He uses his trusty remote to bring the place down, so we have one last challenge. Meatboy carries Bandage Girl through this large pathway, and thankfully there's no time limit, so you don't need to rush. It's really hard, but still easier than the Fetus, quote, fight, unquote. Meatboy is almost crushed, but he's saved at the last second by Brownie. He survived after all. Meatboy and Bandage Girl manage to escape, and this madness is finally over. For about 2 seconds, until Dr. Fetus comes back and starts pounding on Bandage Girl before the credits roll.
And that may look like the end, but there is one final chapter that's unlocked afterward, and this is what I meant when I say I didn't do everything in the game last time.
Chapter 7, The Cotton Alley, is a role reversal. Dr. Fetus suddenly returns and kidnaps Meatboy a la Ghosts and Goblins, so Bandage Girl has to save him. It's kinda neat, but it doesn't really change much. She controls exactly the same as Meatboy, and like the previous chapter, you can't switch characters. The real difference is that these are harder than any other level we've seen up to this point. It knows it's a post-game challenge, and it is insane. Apparently the developers wanted it so that Meatboy and Bandage Girl spent roughly the same amount of time trying to save each other, and since Meatboy has 6 chapters and Bandage Girl has 1, do the math. These levels send everything they possibly can to murder you. Actually, no, it sends the same amount of things as before, just with even more buzzsaws! I'm telling you, these developers enjoy these way too much. Jesus Christ, look at this! How am I supposed to avoid this stuff? The timing on these is ridiculously strict, and you have to play perfectly to score an A+ grade. And yet it's still easier than unlocking the kid. At least this spreads it out across 20 levels, and I can take a frickin' break.
Alright, this is the last one. Dang it! Dang it! Dang it! Why is this level so freaking long? Almost there, almost there, almost there! Booyah! Yes! I actually beat it! And, nothing happens. Wonderful. Can I go now?
I'm afraid not. You haven't conquered it yet.
Well, let me get the Mega Jewel and I will.
Oh, did I forget to tell you? This game has multiple endings.
Crap, I was afraid you'd say that. Oh well, I already got A+ grades on most of the levels, so I should be good to go. Just need to go to the final boss at, wait. What? 85 levels? I need to beat 85 Dark World levels? That's almost every level in the game!
Actually, no. Remember, I make the rules here, and you're not getting out until you beat all 125 Dark World levels.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah, if you want to get the best ending in this game, you need to beat almost every level in the Light World, get an A+ rank on them, and then beat all of those levels in the Dark World. This is absolutely insane. The Dark World has some stuff that is nearly impossible and requires pinpoint precision. And getting A+ can be miserable, especially the final level in the Cotton Alley. Jesus Christ, you have to play absolutely perfectly, and this level just never ends.
I can't do this! I just can't do this! I can't do. Yes, you can. Huh? Oh, great, now I'm starting to hallucinate. Listen, you can do this. Are you kidding me? These levels are freaking impossible. Between the shocks and the cramps, I just can't take any more of this. My hands are literally falling apart. You've already done better than when you first played this game. You beat the Light World. You beat Cotton Alley. You got all the A+ ranks. You even unlocked the Kid. Your skill has grown tremendously. Many people would have given up by this point, but you can do it. You can keep going. You're right. I've come too far to give up now. And you know what? I'd rather fall apart trying to get out of here than just let that asshole win. I'm doing this. Thank you, Mr. Handface. Yeah, it's Mason, actually. Whatever. Let's finish this.
This is unexpected, but he'll never actually win.
Alright, that's the last one. Now we can finally challenge Dr. Fetus again, and this is the exact same fight but with a slightly different layout. I should be angry, but I'm just glad this is the only fight they put in the Dark World. And wow, this part is actually easier than last time. After that, everything plays out the same. The chase is somehow even harder, and at this point I'm becoming numb to the shocks. And finally, this never-ending gauntlet is over. The ending plays out identically until Fetus starts pounding, and we see it does nothing. Well, that was suspenseful. Fetus deletus. The credits play, and we get brief showings of all the bosses. That's neat. We then end on a shot of our lovely couple and discover Bandage Girl has something cooking. Yeah, boy.
There! I did it! I freaking did it! I beat every Light World level, every Dark World level, and I beat Dr. Fetus twice. And the final death count, 8,673 deaths! I freaking did it! Now, let me out of here, you worthless piece of trash!
Not yet. You have to get an A+ on every level, including the Dark World levels.
What?!
And you have to do all the warp zones, the glitch levels, and get all the bandages to unlock every character.
You can't be serious!
Oh, and I forgot to mention that you only have a limit of 10,000 deaths. If you pass that, you have to start the whole game all over again.
You know what? No!
That's the rules of the game.
You've literally been making up the rules as we go along this whole time! What kind of game is that?
Have you not played Uno with a large group of people?
What is your problem anyway?
Isn't it obvious? Roll the clip.
Pokemon Snap is surprisingly a lot of fun. You're mad that I liked Pokemon Snap?
Yes, I loathe that game, and I can't stand anyone who likes it.
Why?
Because Pokemon Snap killed my grandma, okay?
Okay, I'm not even gonna ask about that. Ow!
Ha! You think you can just stop? You're not so tough without your precious Mega Jewel.
Oh, really?
What are you doing?
Something I really hope works. Mega Jewel! Yes!
letting you out?
Fine, I'll just let myself out.
Good luck. Even that power isn't enough to break out of that chamber. Using the bracelet. Smart. No matter. I'm in a location so secretive and out of the way, you'll never be able to find me. Oh no!
Super Meat Boy is the hardest game I've ever beaten in my entire life. It will knock you down, pick you back up by your pants, and then throw you down the hill. It is absolutely brutal and super well made.
For the most part, this game is a lot of fun. Despite being so tough, the fact that you instantly restart the stage makes each death feel more like a slap on the wrist than anything else. Combine that with the really short stages, tight controls, and great level design, I mean it when I say this game is addictive. It's like a bag of potato chips that keeps punching you in the face. However, that addictiveness only really lasts for the main campaign. When you try to go for the extra stuff, it can be absolutely miserable. The levels are still short, but they throw so much at you, it can feel like you are making no progress. From the Cotton Alley to the Dark World levels to unlocking the freaking kid, this game actually hurt. This is one of the few games that caused genuine pain for me. From how long you hold the run button and how many times you mash the jump button, I got a large amount of hand cramps and thumb sores. It reached a point where I was not having fun. I didn't want to see anything else. I just wanted the game to end. You know, some movies are really good, but they're so depressing you can only watch them once. Super Meat Boy is like that, but with difficulty. It can be fun, but I don't think I am ever gonna play it again. Or at the very least, I'm not gonna play the extra stuff again. But if you're the kind of person that loves to be challenged, you might see more value in this than I do. The game is only $15, and there are over 300 levels to beat, so you'll definitely get your money's worth out of it. This is a great game that I can recommend, just know what you're getting into.
In the meantime, I've got some serious recovering to do, and I need to catch up on some of my mail. Dear Mr. Aidan, we have accepted your resume, I don't remember having one of those, and congratulations, you are now officially a member of the Buzzsaw of the Month Club. No!